Hello and welcome to Common Talk about the Commonwealth. I'm State Senator Jim Welch and welcome back to our show. Today I'm very excited to have as a guest Chris Maywald from Unify Against Bullying, which is a great organization that's been doing terrific work out here in Western Massachusetts to raise awareness around bullying and the issues around bullying. As those of us who have children and those of us who have kids in the school system and of the school system age really understand how difficult and how challenging of an issue bullying can be. So we're very fortunate to have Chris with us today, and as I do with every show, welcome to our show, of course, first. Thanks, Chris.
Well, thank you so
joining.
much, Senator Welch. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about Unify Against Bullying.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great segue. So what I usually like to do in the beginning is give you a little bit of time just to talk about maybe yourself and how you got to be the with the executive director of Unify Against Bullying.
Yes.
And a little bit about your background, and then go into a little bit about the organization itself.
Well, I first came to hear of Unify Against Bullying back in 2015. A friend sent me an email talking about an all-inclusive fashion show, non-traditional fashion show that celebrated all sizes, shapes, styles, ethnicities, sexual orientation, and physical abilities. So I thought, well, she knew that my husband and I, who has a business in Ludlow, Renaissance Advisory Services, and I worked for him at that time, that we were very philanthropic and we'd like to work with the community on different organizations and so forth. So she sent me an invitation to this fashion show. So I reached out to Susanna Zemba. The Zemba family of Robert Charles Photography are the founders of Unify, Edward, Susanna, and Robert Zemba. I gave her a call and I said, my husband and I would like 2 tickets, and I make really nice gift baskets. I'd love to donate a gift basket for your raffle. So my husband and I went to the log cabin and we sat in the audience with other people wondering what this was really all about. Well, we were totally blown away. What the young people, the juniors in high school, walked the runway, and they did celebrate all sizes, shapes, styles, ethnicities, sexual orientation, and physical abilities. They also did a performance aspect that showed the effects of bullying on a person. There wasn't a dry eye in the place, including my husband and I. I have a son that was bullied in school when he was 11 years old. It was a very long time ago. He's now 46, but as a mom, I didn't find out at that time, thus the silence associated with bullying. We had a couple of close deaths. My mom and dad passed away that same year, so he turned from a really happy-go-lucky child into a depressed child. And I thought it was, certainly I'm sure it affected it, but unbeknownst to me, he was being bullied at that time too. I got him help, counseling, because he did get very depressed. Thank goodness the counseling helped and he worked out of it. But he must have never shared it with the counselor, because the counselor never shared the bullying with me. I would have definitely been in there and tried to resolve what the situations were. He finally shared it with me at 17 years old. Well, as a dad, as a mom, you're supposed to protect your child. It still gets me very emotional because I feel so hurt for him and just disappointed that I wasn't able to be there to help him with that. Fast forward to many, many years, I never forgot it. And when I was sitting in that audience and they did the performance aspect on bullying, it just brought it all back up to me. After the event, my husband and I went to the Zemba family and we said, this is phenomenal. With everything we've seen with the Phoebe Prince suicide and Carl Walker Hoover, and just from friends that were telling me issues they were going through with their children in school. And I have 7 grandkids. So for my grandkids and all the other children, I thought this can't be. So we talked to Ed and Susie. They said, everybody wants us to do something with making this a nonprofit, a 501c3. So they actually did. In January 2016, Unify became an official 501c3, and my husband and I became founding board members with other community folks. Well, with the issue and the pervasive issue that's going on right now, we grew so fast that we needed an executive director. course, being nonprofit, in July of 2017, I just, working in my husband's business, I just really felt led to do this. So I talked with my husband, so we always laugh. He fired me from the business, so I fired him from the board. So turnabout was fair play there. But it was a learning curve, but it's been extremely rewarding when we have one student tell you, Unify saved my life. Unify saved my life, and they're now part of my family. I know, even if it's one child, one student, that we're making a difference.
Well, it's certainly clear, in Western Massachusetts where we've seen Unify Against Bullying just have such a huge impact on the community, and especially, as you mentioned, in young people's lives for the positive. And, when you hear a story like that and a comment is made like that from a student or a child, you can only imagine how the impact that you must feel.
You're making a difference in the days that are crazy. I just think of that, and it says, okay, this is we're doing the right thing. One of the things we do is, as an organization, is we raise awareness to the silence associated with bullying. As I say, my son didn't report it to me; he didn't report it anywhere, and we have a student board, and in 2016, we said to the kids, how can we use social media for good instead of bad? They came up with the hashtag Unify Selfie Challenge. Hand across the mouth represents the silence associated with bullying. Unify on the hand means we're all in this together to do something about it. They challenged us 50 states, 50 countries in 50 days. And October 1st of 2016, we started it. And we actually got it in 50 states, 56 countries in 50 days. The very last day, we needed one state, Utah. Someone finally, it was a Saturday, everybody was calling everybody in Utah, police, firemen, to do this. And we did manage to get it. It was a global initiative because part of the thing when you do this, you have to challenge 3 of your friends to do it. And then they challenge 3 of their friends to do it. So it was a great way to get the awareness around all globally. Another thing that we do is we have peer presentations that our students, which afterwards you'll meet one of our super ambassador students, Chi-Chi. They do peer presentations in schools. We use the high school kids. So many times teachers will say, Chris, can you come talk to our class about bullying and that? And I'm like, they don't want to hear from me. I'm another adult. But what we do is we take the high school kids, they go in and they talk to the younger peers, and they really listen, and they make an impression because most of these students have been bullied, and when they tell their story and speak from the heart, as I did, it can get very emotional.
Of course.
We also, with some of the funds that we raise from our all-inclusive fashion show that goes on May 14th at the Log Cabin, we fund other people's anti-bullying initiatives. We like to empower the students, so we certainly choose the students first. They can apply for a grant online. They're micro grants that we give. And what they do, as long as they have an anti-bullying initiative, something that would help students in school or the community, then we have a committee that goes over, chooses, and will award the grant. I'm proud to say last October we awarded $16,000 in grants, micro grants, one for Square One for their students, one for Chicopee Boys and Girls Club. We have a Be a Friend project that they send kids that are bullied severely. Once a month, a child is chosen, and they send friend mail. Be strong. We all write friend letters from all over the country. And they send out 10,000 letters last year. We helped them with their postage and that, and being part of their initiative.
It's truly amazing, having seen it on, social media and the effect that it has and the growth, as you mentioned, the campaign, the Unify campaign, and it's really truly does have a positive impact. And as much as anything, I think it just gets people, whether you're a parent or whether you're a teacher or an adult or even a child, when you see that, it makes you stop and think. And it makes you think about your own actions. It makes you think about, what's going on around
Yeah.
you. Are you, watching for the right signals and the right
Yeah.
signs? And
You really get it. You
yeah,
get it. But we had one gentleman that the next year in 2017 to 2018, the kids said, okay, let's try and get 50 celebrities to do it.
mm,
So we've had Chris Evans from
mm-hmm,
Captain America.
mm-hmm,
I don't Riverdale, Lily Reinhart, she's
mm-hmm,
the big one. She plays Betty on
mm-hmm,
Riverdale. All the kids know them. So we
mm-hmm.
have a lot of people from Walking Dead
Sure.
and Game of Thrones
Oh
and
wow.
that have done the selfie challenge. And one gentleman wrote, I was going to bully. This is social media for good.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to bully, and then I saw my favorite actor do your selfie challenge, so I chose not to.
Well, that's good. That's great.
So those are the kind of things. You don't know how many people you're affecting with the social media, but we know it's making a difference.
Right. And raising awareness, and many times, kids especially, um, they may not know that their actions are quote unquote bullying actions. So it's just great. But we only have a couple minutes left in this first segment, but I wanted to read, a definition that we found, and it's on bullying. But to use superior strength or influence to intimidate someone, typically to force him or her to do what one wants. Some synonyms are persecute, oppress, tyrannize, harass, or dominate. Do you think that that's an effective definition? Should more be added to it or
I
taken
think there's
away?
a simpler,
Mm-hmm.
simpler definition: an intentional
Mm-hmm.
need to hurt, harm, or humiliate a person,
Mm-hmm.
either physically or emotionally.
Right.
To definitely want to overpower, to control, to make themselves feel better.
Right. And then has on a consistent basis
Yeah.
as well. Yes. So, well, again, this is just the end of our first segment here, and we'll be back right after. We'll do some PSA announcements. But again, Chris, I want to thank you for being on our show. Chris Maywald for Unify Against Bullying, doing great work in our community and with our youth, and having a very positive impact on everyday lives of our school kids. So I want to thank you for the work that you do, and again, thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for what you do.
Of course. Well, we're all in it together. So
Absolutely,
that's what it's all
we
about.
are.
So thank you, and we'll see you after the PSAs. Thank you.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Welcome back to Common Talk about the Commonwealth. It's been a great first segment so far. We're here with Executive Director Chris Maywald of Unify Against Bullying, and we've also have a second guest with us today, and her name is Chi Capella, and she is a representative of Unify Against Bullying, and also the 2019 Hero Award recipient for Unify Against Bullying. And I just wanted to just give you a moment. Just what's that award? What does that award mean? What does it mean to you? And how did it all come about?
So the award was first created the year that I actually got involved with Unify Against Bullying, and the embodiment of the award is someone who overcame adversity, and they overcame adversity and they turned it into a good situation. So maybe instead of turning around and being a bully myself or trying to tear other people down, I got involved with Unify, or I do a lot of social justice work through my poetry and things like that. And I've been told I inspire people through my poetry and things like that, and my poetry has helped people. And my poetry is also involved with Unify Against Bullying through the fashion shows and things like that. So I've really come to learn that I do help people in that way.
Great. Well, congratulations, and I'm sure it's obviously a recognition well earned. Now, I recently read, different statistics say that about 77%, give or take a few, of students are bullied mentally, verbally, and physically, with cyberbullying rapidly approaching these same similar percentages or numbers, 77%. as someone who's more in the age group of the
Right.
students, and possibly seeing cyberbullying or having witnessed cyberbullying,
Right.
can you talk a little bit about how the dangers of it, and what many of the people watching our show are parents or
Right.
grandparents? What are certain things that parents and grandparents and family members should be looking out for when it comes to cyberbullying?
I think a lot of the time, cyberbullying doesn't just happen. A lot of the time, you hear kids that something will happen face to face in school and then it will continue online. So, if your kid is already being bullied in school, that's gonna translate onto online, their social media accounts, things like Instagram, Snapchat.
Hmm.
And I think that what parents should be looking out for is if someone, if their kid goes home and goes straight into their room, doesn't want to talk about it, maybe their head's a little bit more droopier than other times, maybe their shoulders are slumped, and if there is a big thing for me when I was getting cyberbullied was like I was always like looking at my phone very anxiously because I wanted to see what was going on next, who was talking about me next, and
Mm,
like I just always had my phone in my hand because I didn't know if someone else would be talking
mm,
about me online. And it's really awful because like I'm pretty sure kind of in your guys' generation you could kind of go home and escape the bullying really,
mhm,
versus now everyone kind of lives online.
mm.
So
It's constant, nonstop,
yeah,
and
there's no accountability because
mhm,
you can say whatever you want behind a screen.
mhm. Wow. So, you know, typically, or at least according to some of our research that we've done before the show, that there's basically three types of bullying: verbal, social, and physical. Now, I'm sure all of them can be very dangerous individually,
Hmm.
but do you find, or in your experiences, have you seen all three of those happen in the
Yes.
same instance?
Yes, definitely. For me, it definitely happens. So, for verbal, I would come into school every day and people would call me ugly. If one day I did my hair, they would make fun of me for doing my hair and caring, but the next day I didn't try, they would make fun of me because I didn't try to do my hair. And then because I was being made fun of, everyone kind of thought that that was the cool thing.
Hmm.
That turns into the social aspect where the group of like the cool kids or the more popular kids would all be making fun of one person, right? And that's the social aspect of leaving someone out of the group dynamic.
Hmm.
Like in my old school, we had like crews,
Hmm.
which was our homeroom, but they were like family. But it really felt like my crew family was against me.
Hmm.
And then because of the social and the verbal aspect, it turned into physical for me because
Hmm.
when everyone thought it was cool to bully me, it ended up for me getting jumped.
Hmm.
I got a concussion from it. Just terrible things. I had gotten like assaulted a few times in school, like shot in the ear with like a staple gun, things
Hmm.
like that. So all of those three instances can happen almost simultaneously.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that you had obviously gone through all of that, but to see you today and to see you speaking out and taking your message and making it into a positive, I can certainly see how you received the Hero Award for your
Thank you.
Unify Against Bullying, and it's kids like you that are willing and have the courage, because you're truly the strong one, as you know, the one that stands up against the wrong and stands up for yourself, and really, I think you set the example for many of your peers on how to handle a bullying situation. Um, Now, in your experience, everyone's experience is different, but coming from a school age perspective, do you see bullying as much, or had you seen bullying as much even if it wasn't, bullying that was perpetrated on you, but in the elementary school years as opposed to the middle school, as opposed to the high school years? Is it prevalent everywhere or in some areas more than others?
I think middle school is very much where
Mm-hmm.
the bullying starts. In elementary, I didn't see or really experience it as
Mm-hmm.
much. But in middle school, everyone kind of said, everyone that I talked to really, they said, kind of sixth grade people were still kind of in their own world. Coming from elementary school, you kind of still have like this great bubble around you where everything in the world is perfect. And then a lot of people that I've spoken to said seventh, eighth grade, their bubbles kind of popped.
Mm-hmm.
And you get that sense of like a realness of, I'm in school, people feel like they can be against me, and that's when social cues and social cliques start to begin, and that's kind of where bullying starts to begin.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And now, when it comes to bullying, I'm sure it comes in all shapes and sizes, and against bullying against people or on people or kids that for many different reasons. It could be where they live, it could be their ethnicity, their race, their sexual orientation, basically what they look like, how they
Right.
talk. It could be anything. Have you seen one area, in your experiences that it's it's is the most common thing for a kid to be bullied by or bullied because of?
I think that it's all differences, really. I'm not sure if there's one that's the biggest. I know LGBTQ plus stuff is getting really popular now, so I think we start to see a little bit less bullying around that, but there's still hate crimes and things like that happening, and anti-LGBTQ plus organizations that kind of support that, or not like kind of unknowingly support that with how they attack people, right? But also like from my experience personally, like I'm biracial, so I'm white and Puerto Rican, and I was bullied for that because being from Springfield, a lot of the people there are Puerto Rican and so Black and Latino, Black and Latinx, and I would, and at least in my school, there were a little bit fewer white people. So if I would try to kind of be with Puerto Rican people in my school, right, they would say, "Oh, you're not real Puerto Rican because I'm part white." Or if I try to be friends with white people, they'd say, "Oh, you're not really white, you're Puerto Rican." So it was this feeling of like not really being accepted, and that idea of being biracial, people are bullied.
And in your experience, do you think that the kids that are doing the bullying are aware that they're being bullies, or is it something that because bullying is the awareness has been the talking about it has really been brought to the public's attention over the past several years, and just wondering, is it having an effect with kids, with school age kids, that when they do start bullying, have you seen instances where someone will stand up and say, "Stop being a bully, knock it off," and that has an effect, or is that not really taken hold yet in your
So
experience?
people in my experience, and I've heard in other people's experiences, that people are really afraid to use the word bullying. It's a very big word that comes with a lot of responsibility. It kind of packs the punch when you hear the word bullying. So I think that people, especially my age group, they don't know they're being bullied, but they do know that they're being rude, or like they know that they're being mean for no reason. And like another term that people use is like being petty, like kind of throwing shade, really. And kind of people give them props because, oh, if they say, "Oh, that's just the way I am, I'm staying true to myself, and if I'm rude, that's how I am," people give them props. Yes, you're being yourself, that's great, but they don't really realize the effects it has with other students and things like that.
Well, again, thank you for sharing your story, and congratulations on receiving the Hero Award. It's certainly well deserved. And your willingness to participate and speak up, share your story, and really be an advocate for Unify Against Bullying is tremendously important. So I thank you for that, and I think all of our viewers at home would probably echo my sentiments and say the same thing, that it's very nice to see a strong young lady who stands up and not only for yourself, but the impact that you're having for other kids that might get into the same type of situation or find themselves in the same type of situation you did. It will have a huge impact. So thank you so much for that. We just got about 2 minutes left, and I know we were talking a little bit during the break, and there was one question I think that we wanted to address before we broke the show, and I'm going to address it to you, Chris. And is there a fix for bullying? I mean, we talk about it, we raise awareness. Is there a fix? And if so, where does that responsibility lie to end bullying? Does it lie with schools? Does it lie with parents? Does it lie with the police, the court system?
As we say, it takes a village. It's all of us. And with Unify, we do believe that there is a fix. It's such a polarizing issue. Instead of sweeping it under the rug, where a lot of folks don't want to address it and don't want to deal with it, we need to all bring it out. And instead of being in different camps, we need to all be under one tent. We equate and Unify to smoking 30 years ago. 30 years ago, smoking. Did you ever think that it would be uncool to not smoke today? Well, we believe that bullying can also, we can have that effect and make it uncool to bully with the awareness and with all of us working together.
And it's starting to, I would say to that point, I would say that that's starting to happen now, where you're starting to hear of situations of kids who are bullying other kids, and it almost sadly gets flipped around, and the bully becomes the person who is being either called out or reprimanded, and it's a very sensitive type situation. But I am happy to see, and I've seen it in my own kids' lives, in school situations where it may have happened, but parents, teachers, and adults that were involved caught it quickly and were able to address the situation.
The awareness is really big, and being able to address it at that time.
Absolutely. And parents need to be willing to accept the fact that if another parent calls and says, hey, your kid, or a teacher calls and says your child is bullying another child or whatever have you, you have to be receptive to that and really understand.
Not be defensive.
Yeah.
To every problem there's a solution, and Unify believes that we are a charity of hope, and we will do that.
Absolutely. Well, keep up the good work. That's unfortunately all the time we have for today. So Chi-Chi, I want to say thank you. Keep up the good work. And Chris Maywald from Unify Against Bullying, Executive Director, again, thank you for all the great work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
And for those of you at home, thanks again for watching and tuning in to Come and Talk About the Commonwealth, and we'll see you next time.